Save the Semantics, episode 186. It is September 17th, 2022. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a bit about some shit. I just realized that I have not posted the episode that I did last time, which was a month ago. So, it's going to be two back-to-back episodes with a pretty long period of time in between. So it might be kind of jarring, going from August into September, end of September. But yeah, I've been really busy. I haven't really had a moment to kind of sit down and, record something. So it's going to be the same thing. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, it's been a little bit. Just been really busy with work, so I haven't had the time to really sit down and process a lot of things. Process, my life, whatever's going on in the world. I don't know. It's been, again, like I said, it's been really busy. So, outside of work, not a whole lot going on. I'm doing alright. There were a few times in the last couple of weeks where I've been really just frustrated with myself and just kind of this, work shit, right? I was just really frustrated with myself. And that's kind of, I really don't like it when I get into like a headspace where I'm like shitting on myself, which is what I kind of, which I've sort of found myself doing. It's just sort of, it's annoying me. I just find it just, it's just kind of a drag to get through. So I'm trying to be better about that. But yeah, that's just kind of something that I wanted to touch upon, is that I've been sort of hitting my head against the wall. Not literally, of course, but, just in terms of just like, dealing with just work stuff and everything like that. But yeah, I'm doing all right. It's just, it just happens to be that time where things pick up and I feel sort of overwhelmed when I'm not able to get through something in a manner of time that I expected to. There's more work than expected, or there was just more frustrations than I expected. It can feel kind of difficult to get through those things, and I make it into a bigger deal than it seems. But again, it's just something that I need to kind of work on and not get super wrapped up in it and not feel like the world is ending because of one small thing that didn't go right for me, and not to kind of like try to like extrapolate it onto my whole entire self, you know what I mean? So I haven't really given myself a ton of time to like reflect and stuff like that, because I've just been in this like, mode of just working through everything. So I don't know, it's frustrating to say the least, but it's not the worst thing ever. It's just kind of, it's just the headspace that I get in, and I hate being in that moment, and I just want to get out of it, basically, right? And so I just want to get through the thing that I'm struggling with and not have to worry about it, right? But you just kind of have to do your best, and you just can't, I don't know, you just can't toss that kind of thing to the side and let it kind of build up. And sometimes you have to step away from it and sort of think about what it is that what you're struggling with and everything like that. So yeah, anyways, outside of my kind of frustrations or whatever, I've been doing okay. I've just kind of when I do have the time, I take the time to just kind of relax. I've still been playing Xenoblade, about 100 hours in, which is crazy. I'm nearing the end of the game though. Definitely sort of feels like it's kind of building up to the end of the game. And I forgot what I even said last time. I don't remember where exactly I was a month ago. I think I was maybe halfway through, a little less than halfway through. I don't exactly remember. But yeah, we've made a ton of progress. There's been, I'm anticipating on playing this game quite a lot more. I just feel like there's so many different ways to play this game, just considering the classes and everything like that. Like I could just see myself, I can see myself challenging. I could see challenging myself doing different runs and everything like that. I think there's just a lot of different ways to kind of go about it, especially with the combat and everything like that. So maybe doing a speedrun-esque sort of thing. I think that would be kind of cool. But I think because the combat is so like complex, there's a lot of variety to it. I think because of that, there's replayability with this game. So of course I'm excited to, play through and see it to the end. But I'm also, without burning myself out on this game, I see myself playing this game more, even throughout the end of the year. So I've really enjoyed my playthrough with it. It's been incredible. Again, I think I have to beat the game to really give my full thoughts in regards to how it compares to the other two games and everything like that. I mean, I've already talked a bit about, my first impressions and whatnot, but I'll give sort of my full thoughts as I kind of wrap up this game. But I also want to talk a bit about how I feel at this sort of juncture in the game. So I when I was talking about it last time, I said that I'm a huge fan of, I don't know, I think the very first time I talked about it, I was just talking overall how much I really enjoyed everything. I think the last time I talked, it was regarding how I enjoyed the characters and, kind of how the relationship and everything like that. I've really, that isn't to say all of these things. Like I don't have, my criticisms of it. I think I've really lauded this game for a lot of things. But yeah, let's talk about some of the criticisms that I do have. It's really not that many, in my opinion. But yeah, some criticisms. I'd say, this isn't really necessarily a criticism. This is more of a preference choice. I really liked, in the first two games, kind of how distinct each area was. I liked it felt, every time we sort of traveled to a new location in the first game or the second game, it really felt we were going to very different and just kind of new locations. There was always kind of like there was always this draw to them, this sort of, there's sort of an intrigue in terms of what, there's sort of kind of this unexpected, if you didn't know anything going into the games, you're kind of like, ooh, what is this place, and I kind of like that you're also able to really distinguish these areas, and you're kind of able to really, I don't know, you can kind of, for example, the first game, the Bionis, right? You can sort of pinpoint where each location is on the Titan and kind of, recall sort of like the aesthetic of the area, of course the music, the just kind of the different landmarks, if you will. I just think having that sort of gave each place had very much its own character, and I think there's like kind of something that really kind of draws you in to that. And this game is the third game. The geography of it is very much this kind of this continent, if you will. They mention it a few times, maybe. They don't really go super in depth as to kind of what this like landmass exactly is. They just kind of call it the continent, maybe, or maybe that was. I remember Tyon saying something about you're gonna wake up the whole Forsaken continent. I don't know if he's referring to the specific continent that they were on. I don't really know, but it's sort of this land mass, and there's kind of I guess there's there's the ocean. It's not super descript, and kind of everything is sort of interconnected with one another. While in the first two games, each Titan represented a different location on the map, and I thought that was kind of cool. Again, that's much more of a preference thing. It's much more of a just kind of a general what would you say? Just a general observation, but I don't know. I think I sort of like having very this location and this location. I think I'd say that kind of goes along with how I feel about the music as well. There aren't really a ton of tracks that the soundtrack is fantastic, by the way. It's incredible. It's really well done. I think it's just it's very much up to par with the other soundtracks. I just think in terms of memorability, there's not really that as much in comparison to the other games. I think with the first game, you have Gower Plains. You have what else? You have, I don't know. I feel Machina Forest, maybe, I don't know, but there's a lot of very memorable tracks, and I mean the second game has Morardain, it has Tantal, it has Uriah. I mean all of these locations have very memorable and kind of like catchy themes, if you will. So I don't know. I think because I can't really remember. That's the thing too. There are a ton of locations in this game, and I can't really remember the names of these places. Like they're all just kind of this. You're like, okay, there's Cadencia, right? Is like sort of the sea region, and then there's Aisha. Atia? How do they pronounce it? I don't remember. But, you have that area where it's kind of like, okay, I mean, this is sort of like a part of the map, right? But I don't know. It's hard for me to remember these locations. So I think that, I think it helps where the music is very memorable. So therefore the locations are kind of memorable in that sense. So again, I don't know if that's necessarily a criticism. It's just more a bit more of an observation. I think it's just I think I sort of connect more with the locations in the first two games, or it's sort of in my mind like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that place is. This is that snow area, or the kind of the first area of the game where you kind of have this wide open green fields and everything like that. So I don't know, that's sort of my one semi criticism that I do have, is sort of the locations, and the music is it's good, but it's not, there aren't a ton of there hasn't been a ton of memorable tracks, in my opinion. There's been a couple where like, wow, this is incredible. But in terms of location, themes, not a whole lot, I would say. Another thing I would say that haven't been like the biggest fan of. Again, I'm getting toward the end of the game. I would say sometimes the pacing is a bit off, or where it's just sort of, there's this really incredible kind of moment where the story reaches this fucking like emotional and just I don't even know what to call it, but it just sort of reaches this kind of peak where you're like, wow, what is this? This is something, you know? And then it's sort of, you know, falling action, right? Like, you know, typical story, you know, story outline. But I would say the moment after kind of this huge kind of event that occurs in the game, it sort of slows a bit, and I'm at a kind of a point in the game where it feels some of the weight of what happened in earlier in the game hasn't necessarily carried over. Like some of the what would you call it? The stakes are there. I just haven't felt it as much as I did in that moment. You know what I mean? Which, you know, makes sense considering what does happen afterwards. But I don't know. I think that it's just sort of a pacing thing, in my opinion. And it also might have to do with how I'm playing this game as well, where I try to kind of intertwine doing side quests and the main story. I try not to over level when I go into the main story, because I think I am playing on hard mode, but I think over leveling makes it a lot easier for me to just sort of like breeze through the rest of the game. And I kind of want to continue to challenge myself and not just sort of just kind of just go through it, you know. I want to feel kind of I want to challenge myself when I face more difficult enemies and bosses and that sort of thing. So I try not to over level. I try to, you know, what I feel is like a good level to be at, either at the level of, you know, whatever enemy that I'm fighting in a specific area. So I kind of stick to that. So, I mean, I don't know. I think I do a pretty good job of balancing the side content with the main story, where I'm not doing so much to the point where I'm, you know, 20 levels higher than, you know, whatever boss that I'm facing. So I don't know. I think it has to do more of the pacing with the story, where I think it could have been a little better done, in my opinion. But again, I haven't beat the game yet, so these are all kind of preliminary sort of things. I'll give my full thoughts on the game once when I beat it, and you know, just everything. I don't know if I'm going to do a sort of a spoiler kind of discussion. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll do that, because I do want to talk about the story elements and the characters and just everything that kind of happens in the game, because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of depth, and I don't know. There's just so much that happens and that goes on with this game, and again, I'm just so happy that this game even exists. Like, I was happy with. I was very happy with how, you know, of how sort of things ended up for like Monolith. Even with Xenoblade 2, I initially didn't want to. I initially was not interested in playing 2, because I just heard about the criticisms of the game, and I was just like, man, that's unfortunate. I guess this is not what it kind of used to be. It's sort of taken maybe a bit of a departure from the first game, and that's too bad, I guess. And so I held off on I also didn't have a Switch, I think, when the game came out. So, I just didn't get my hands on it. But I'm very happy that I gave 2 a shot, because it's, along with the first game, it's gone up as one of my favorites. And this third one will, definitely, it's gonna be up there, man. It's incredible. It's so well done. I really adore everything, pretty much most things about this game. So I'm very happy playing through it. Also, this past week there was a Nintendo Direct, so let's talk a little bit about that. I I get up early, or I have been getting up early to work, so this was perfect timing for me. So start time was 7 a.m. Western or Pacific time for me. In Japan, I don't know what time it would be in Japan, but anyways, it was perfect timing. So I was like eating breakfast and watching this. And I think there's a good amount of things that I don't maybe not a good amount of things. There are some things that I'm interested in. Obviously Zelda. They released the title, Tears of the Kingdom, and not much else. showed like an extra 30 seconds, not even, of gameplay, and it's gonna come out in May. So by the time I've fully done everything that I've really wanted to with Xenoblade 3, it's perfect. It's perfect. Like then this game rolls around. It also comes at, oh my god, it comes at a great time for me. It comes out in the summer, is when I have time to do shit. So I'm really happy. I'm very happy with the release date. Hopefully it doesn't get pushed back. But yeah, if it stays the way it is, then it's going to come out at a really opportune time for me, where I'm able to have the time to play. So that's awesome. I'm really happy about that. So, I guess in between now and then, Xenoblade. I don't know what else. I might play something else during that time. Maybe Persona 5 when that comes out. That's something I could be interested in. I think it comes out in November, if I'm not mistaken. So I've never played Persona. That sounds really exciting to me. I've played the Shin Megami Tensei games, which I've talked about. But yeah, I've heard Persona 5 is the best one. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that. So I'm definitely gonna pick it up. It's just I'm gonna play it. Fuck it. I want to buy it. I'm gonna buy it. I think I'm just gonna commit to getting it. There are other games on my list. This is what I have on my list, and maybe I've brought it up before, but just for a refresher, these are some games that I may consider playing. So I have Astral Chain, I have Ys 9, I have Great Ace Attorney, and oh yeah, I still haven't beat the 3-game pack for Ace Attorney, so I still have one more game left in that edition. I have the Bayonetta series, which I don't really know. I just kind of threw it on here. I'm intrigued by it. I've always kind of been somewhat interested in this series. It's a hack and slash, which isn't really it's not really a game that I've historically been interested in, but maybe I'll give it a shot. Because all 3 games are available on the Switch, so if it goes on sale or whatever, then maybe I'll try it out. Also, the 3rd game is going to be coming out later this year, so I don't know. Maybe if there's like a shit, my bad. So I checked the audio file for the episode that I had thought I had fully recorded, but apparently it cut off at a certain point when I paused it. So this is going to be the second half, or the second part, really. This is just me closing it off, honestly. Basically, I was just talking about games that I was like interested in, playing. That's kind of in my backlog, or games that I want to purchase in the future. You know what I mean? So that's kind of been, that's something that I've just been thinking about. Not a whole lot else I really had to say there, but I just wanted to kind of close it off instead of just sort of leaving it open and like fucking ending on just this awkward pause finish. So yeah, I guess that's it. If I sound tired right now, it's because I am. So next time I record, hopefully I'll be a bit more energized. But yeah, I just wanted to finish up this episode. At the very least, without just ending off on a bit of a cliffhanger there. This has been episode 186. Save the Semantics. Signing off.